things are going from bad to worse in this country, it now says there's going to be a horse racing strike as well, because Rachel Reeves is, of course, trying to put a tax on horse racing. So next month, they're going to go on strike. All meetings axed for a day in protest at Rachel Reeves.
Yeah, she wants to increase that tax from 15% to 21%, which I think is the same as the online casino slots kind of thing.
Which is a massive error.
Which is a big error. And, you know, it's one of the kind of pleasures that people still have left in this world.
Right.
Apparently it's going to cost the industry, that single day is going to cost the industry, I think, £700,000.
Yeah.
They're sort of striking at Lingfield and places like that. It's a sort of big day for four of the kind of major meets. Yeah, I mean, you know, let's just attack everyone. They're so desperate for money. And as you say, it's because the Chancellor is economically illiterate.
Exactly.
She seems to go after the small targets and sort of completely ignore the big things that she needs to do. Plus, you know, look at pubs closing, look at all the other stupid decisions, idiotic, illiterate decisions that she's been making, which have actually ended up costing more.
Yeah, and every time you read anything, particularly at the weekends when they have a bit more time to get into things in depth, I mean, they're looking at literally anything they could, anything that moves, tax it. If we're not taxing it already, you know, let's put some more tax on it. If we are taxing it, let's change the tax and put the tax up.
Except if it's foreign, then give it loads of money. If it's foreign and it moves, give it loads of money. But also this thing about it, it's a bit similar to allotments. You know, these small things that make people's lives worth living.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I know. Angela Rayner says, let's cover them all over with concrete, except in her own constituency where she's campaigning for allotments.
I know.
It's a kind of nasty, vindictive, but also incompetent, hypocritical.
And very hypocritical. Well, let's look at what she's been forced to apologise for and correct, right? She has to correct a parliamentary record after bungling her figures when discussing unemployment and her flagship pension reforms. This is the Chancellor of the Exchequer, right? This is the most important job in finance in Britain, right? And she couldn't get it right. The Treasury has corrected Hansard, the official record of what MPs and peers say in Parliament, after errors by the Chancellor during several sessions. In one instance, Ms Reeves claimed that excuse me, the £425 billion local government pension scheme was managed by 96 different administering authorities, a figure she hoped to cut to 8 pools. It turns out that was the wrong number. There are actually 86 administering authorities with plans to take it down to 6 pools. So she doesn't even know her own policy. In a separate session, she told peers that Britain had 20% of people of working age who are economically inactive, and we have an unemployment rate of just over 4%. It turns out that was wrong. It's 4.7%, and the economically inactive number is 21%.
She should know that stuff.
So she should.
She really should.
If you're going to give specific figures, the specific figures have to be right.
It's all prepared for her. It should be right there in front of her.
Yeah.
But I mean, don't we know this? Don't we know that she wasn't even able to tell the truth on her own CV?
Well, that's just true.
About her background
She's not keen on the truth, really, is she? I mean, that's part of the problem. Meanwhile, we've got all sorts of other stories knocking around on the migrant front. Migrant boats in the sun at £350. It's really, really cheap. You see the size of these things, where they can make, you know, tens of thousands of pounds with one trip, and they're only costing 350 quid. So a lot of people keep asking, though, where do they go after they've arrived here? Do they get taken back to France? Do they get destroyed?
I would assume they get destroyed here. I don't know. But these are Chinese factories making these inflatable dinghies for selling them for 350 quid. They're available on places like Alibaba.
Yeah.
And they're available on the internet. They're being sold in France for people to cross over here.
Imagine some guy from Amazon turning up with a great big dinghy. I mean, I presume you have to inflate it yourself, do you? But it's still coming in a big box.
They're a nightmare. Have you tried inflating a paddling pool recently?
Oh, yeah. Not recently, no.
My goodness.
Those days are behind me. You know, I don't. If my 21-year-old wants a paddling pool...
Happy birthday to your 21-year-old.
If he wants a paddling pool, he blows it up himself.
Blows it up himself.
Right, let's have a look at some clips from the weekend. This is Rachel Reeves being awkward at the House of Lords committee last month.
At the same time, we also have a challenging economic inheritance with high levels of tax as a share of GDP, historic high levels of government debt, and then also economic growth that really for the last 15 years has been very poor by historical standards because of the weak productivity growth that we've experienced in that period of time.
You can imagine sitting on the other side of that table is Alan Sugar. You're fired.
You're fine.
I mean, you wouldn't give a job like that.
She's visibly
you wouldn't give
struggling.
any job to her, would you? She doesn't know any of the figures.
You know that feeling when you're not sure what you're going to say next, so you just keep saying, you know, as you yourself would know, and she's going, and then she stops.
She's kind of reading occasional facts, which she's not reading them in order.
But all she's really saying there is it's all the Tories' fault. So she keeps going back to, you know, because of the economic, what we've inherited, 15 years of stagnation. That's all she's saying.
I know.
And she looks like she's literally dying on stage.
Yeah. Because she is.
Yes, she is.
Because she's that incapable, just doesn't know what she's doing. And even with all of the help that she's got and all the teams of people at Treasury...
Yeah, they all provide it all. It's not as though they have to come up with this stuff.
No. I know, it's shocking, isn't it?
Really is
Absolutely
shocking.
ridiculous. Let's talk about migrants as well. Big protest this weekend over in Epping.
Britannia,
there was
Bell Hotel, Epping.
The Bell Hotel and I think this week there's quite a big important case going before, because the local council have taken out an injunction against the Home Office and they want them to shut it down. That could go in their favour, in which case, you know, the government got a real problem. But let's have a look at what was going on at the Britannia Hotel. This was in Canary Wharf, of course, over the weekend. Again, they sent loads of police down, and at one point you can see them all kind of running towards the hotel to get between the demonstrators. There we go, between the demonstrators, and somebody pointed out on social media, you know, the Britannia Hotel's got better protection than the UK border. You know, because it's harder to get into the Britannia Hotel than it is to get in here. And once again, they were making kind of a fool of themselves, the police, moving people. There's a woman on a mobility scooter at one point being spoken to. They're trying to move her on. They're trying to move everybody out of the way. And at one point, they said they'd issued I think it was a Section 34. Or a Section 40 or some kind of dispersal order anyway. And the crowd were just sitting on the ground chanting, you can stick your Section 40 up, what's it, you know. And
we're not far right, but we're not far wrong. I was talking to Susan Hall, the lovely...
Yes, have we got a clip of that? Were you down there?
Yeah. No, and she said she was going down there to support the Pink Ladies.
Yeah.
That's what people are there for.
That's exactly right.
And then there are the police barrelling in there, you know. And who are they protecting? Migrants in the hotel.
Who are laughing at everybody out the window and taking pictures of them. I think we've got Susan Hall. Have a look.
Women all over the country are not feeling safe, and we need to let the government know there's a great swell of feeling out there where people do not want to be living next to people who we don't know who they are. They don't want to be walking the streets and having to have their husbands with them because they feel too frightened to walk along. And it's about time that people like me, this is my first demonstration ever, it's about time people like me get out on the streets and say to the government, do something about this, because it's now very, very serious.
It is now very, very serious. And out in Epping, at the Bell Hotel protest, Robert Jenrick turned up. Yeah. I think Kemi Badenoch was there as well. She was there last week too. Funnily enough, the local Tory councillors aren't showing solidarity with the protesters. But everybody around the country is now seeing something like this in their particular area. Yeah. In Havant, there's a piece in the Sun this morning where asylum seekers should be housed in town centres, according to senior Labour councillors. Migrants must be near shops, schools, GP surgeries and transport to integrate faster and combat racist rhetoric. They still haven't learned, have they, these Labour councillors? They're basically pushing this narrative that, you know, the migrants are all nice and the horrible locals are nasty, ghastly, you know, vile white supremacists. It's unbelievable.
Put them in town centres and watch the shoplifting rates go up. And I have friends in Norwich who've said that the shoplifting around the centre of Norwich, even in things like charity shops, is becoming, you know, really, really off-putting to normal people just going about their business.
Well, that's because, I mean, if you're going shopping, what you don't want is somebody in front of you just stealing everything.
Absolutely outrageous.
Right? There's a story in the Telegraph this morning. More serial shoplifters and thieves are walking free than ever before. Nearly 6 in 10 prolific thieves, defined as having at least 15 convictions, avoided prison last year.
Mike, there was a woman who had stolen from Tesco in great big trolleys. She had stolen more than £145,000 worth of goods.
Blimey.
This isn't someone taking something once or taking nappies for their baby or whatever. They sort of these are people
raisins or something.
Yeah, these are people who are almost shoplifting to order. There was a woman who walked out of a high-end store with a £495 designer handbag, and that was her 316th previous conviction. I mean, she had all these previous convictions. These are wholesale shoplifting offences. These are a sort of small percentage of people, 10% of offenders who are repeatedly offending. This is the kind of level it's at. Meanwhile, we've seen so many stories recently. What are the police doing? Firstly, have someone on the door of your shop, the meet and greet idea. Give them a warm welcome. That will deter shoplifters. Iceland... No, it won't. And also, most shops can't afford to have an extra staff member standing at the door. And also, decent shoppers like me, I don't want someone following me around. You know, it's not what we want.
No, and also
crack down on the shoplifting.
Exactly, even in the small, you know, what you would call the sort of metro versions of the big supermarkets. You know, even if they have a security guard, which some of them do. There's one not far from me. But some of these gangs will come like 4 or 5 people.
Walk in and take what they want.
Walk in and take what they want. And he's not going to take on 5 young, fit men, is he?
Why should he? He'll get stabbed.
Yeah.
And the other idea that Iceland came up with is this new £1 bonus for shoppers. So you and I, if we see someone shoplifting and we shop them, then we get a £1 credit on our...
wow.
Well, I don't have an Iceland
What are you going to spend that on?
But I mean, it's not our responsibility.
Well, can you go, sorry, we haven't got anything for £1, you know. Sorry.
But
it's
right,
just ridiculous,
the police need to crack down on the shoplifters.
Yeah.
And, you know, this meeting...
No, I'm sorry, they're too busy cracking down on mothers and children outside hotels, making sure that they don't do any harm to the migrants.
Exactly.
That's where we are. Absolutely unbelievable. We've got lots more to do. It's coming up to 16 minutes past 6. We'll play you some Trump and Putin coming up because, of course, last Friday, all of that kicked off in Alaska after we'd finished this particular show. So we'll catch up with a bit of Trump and Putin. We'll talk some more about what's going on with the migrant war that's going on in this country as well. The Tories are not happy about it. This is Morning Glory. Back with Emma Woolf after this. Welcome back to Morning Glory. It's 19 minutes past 6. It's Monday the 18th of August. We are here. It's still practically dark, by the way. I mean, I know the weather isn't going to be so hot this week as it was last week, but the sun supposedly is coming out. So we await its arrival, because I'm looking out the window and I'm not seeing it. I don't know what's going on. Surely we haven't reached... Actually, over the weekend, I noticed that the leaves was beginning to fall off the trees. Yeah. And it's not even the end of August yet.
It's practically winter, Mike.
Blimey. Anyway, we'll bring you more news on the weather. First of all, let's get a voice note from Wayne on Havant Council.
Good morning, Mr. Graham. It's Wayne from Birmingham. I'd just like to say thank you to you and your presenters for pointing out our useless council. All I can say is, Mike, we'll be even more vigilant. The flags will keep going up. Keep up the good work, Mr. Graham. Have a great day.
Wayne, thank you very much indeed. That's another story of the weekend, isn't it? All these flags being put up all over the country. I mean, I've never seen anything like this, you know, and nobody's reporting it. Yeah. We, of course, report it every single day. But, you know, if you were watching, you know, Sky News or BBC News at the weekend, you wouldn't even know that it was happening.
And what about these councils taking them all down? I think Tower Hamlets, is that near, that's your sort of...
Tower Hamlets is the sort of place you go and somebody will overtake you on a bike with a huge Palestinian flag flying. And when I say overtake you on a bike, of course that happens all the time in London because you're driving at about 4 miles an hour. Yeah. But yeah, a guy went past in a what looked like an Uber actually on Friday when I was leaving town with a flag literally the size of this room, Palestinian flag.
Oh yeah, we were down in Bethnal Green, which is the sort of Tower Hamlets area that we're talking about, and there were men driving past in cars with the flags sort of attached to the windows, you know, flying out of the windows, and very, very loud, like Palestinian music playing. It's actually quite frightening when they've got it, you know, when it's in your face.
Well, it is, because especially when you know that many of the people following around the general area are of a similar bent, if you like. But let's have a look at what's happening later on. The timings are that everything happens pretty much after 5 o'clock this afternoon, where you've got the European leaders, Volodymyr Zelensky, Keir Starmer, of course, will be there, Donald Trump as well. This is him on a productive meeting that he had with Vladimir Putin on Friday.
We had some good meetings over the years, right? Good, productive meetings over the years, and we hope to have that in the future. But let's do the most productive one right now. We're going to stop really 5, 6, 7,000, thousands of people a week from being killed, and President Putin wants to see that as much as I do.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's been a lot written over the weekend as well, because at the beginning there were multiple kind of, you know, lefties and general kind of, you know, anti-Trumpers saying he screwed it all up, you know, he's given the game away, he's given the house away, he'll give anything to Putin, he's been played by Putin.
Rolling out the red carpet.
Suddenly, by yesterday afternoon, people were saying, hang on a minute, he's actually not asking for a ceasefire anymore, he's asking for, you know, actual guarantees of security over the fullness of time. He doesn't want a war anymore. And so people are beginning to say that there is a possibility here of some kind of game-changing situation.
It's really hard on this one. I've gone back and forth, and what does one feel about it? I feel as though it's been slightly bungled. I feel as though Zelensky should have been there on Friday in Anchorage. That was the sort of first mistake. look, Zelensky's under huge pressure.
Yeah.
I'm sort of laughing at the idea of Starmer and how much he was scrabbling. We all know people that are desperate to get an invite to this sort of Z-list party or whatever, or this event or that event.
Right.
But it just felt like that. They couldn't confirm. On Saturday, they couldn't, Number 10 couldn't confirm whether Starmer was going to be included.
Right.
And he's desperate to be on the world stage. He's desperate to be Zelensky's buddy. He's desperate not to be in this country. He doesn't want to be in this country. Why would he? He's the Prime Minister.
Well, that was a very weird scene, wasn't it, last Friday when Zelensky turned up at Downing Street.
Oh, yeah.
And he was they were hugging each other. There's a picture on the front page, actually.
They were cuddling. It was a long, prolonged cuddle.
That is a weird picture for me.
I know, everybody just thought that kind of crossed the line between, you know, the manly handshake or even the handshake and the slap on the back, which it's kind of what they do now. My father would never have done that, but anyway, it's more like a handshake and then a sort of going in for a pat.
Right.
But they were standing there cuddling.
Yeah.
They were body to body.
Holding each other.
Two men.
Literally holding each other.
Desperately clinging to each other.
Yeah.
It was very weird.
Very strange.
Very weird.
I mean, listen, there are times when, if I haven't seen a friend of mine for a long time, I give them a hug, you know, but you don't stand holding them. It was this kind of like...
But also, it's a friend.
Don't leave me. Don't go. Don't let me go. It's as if, you know, life will never be the same.
Two tiny little men, there we go, clinging to each other.
They're literally clinging to each other.
I know.
Oh, my God. I love you.
It's the body-to-body embrace, the torso and all the way down the body. I think that's what it is. I think body language experts talk about, you know, how much contact there is.
Yeah.
But I mean,
it's certainly not normal for business associates or indeed politicians
it's not professional.
to do that.
No, you would not have seen any previous politician
Imagine
doing
also if that was a woman, right? Or you did that in the office. Imagine if there was a guy, actually, I remember when I used to work at TalkSport years ago, there was a guy who used to go up to every woman that he would say hello to and give them a hug. And it was quite weird. And a lot of the women said to me, I really wish you wouldn't do that. You know. But, you know, there was no... And eventually somebody had to say to him, look, actually, that's a bit too over-familiar. It's not appropriate. I don't want to hug you. You know, we're work colleagues. In the same way that these guys are work colleagues. They're not bosom buddies. They're not lovers. They're not, you know, mates from tens and
allegedly
20, 30, 40 years ago.
No, it's very strange.
They're not brothers.
They're not family members.
They're not, you know. No. It's very strange.
So anyway, Starmer got his. Sorry.
No, I was going to... No, carry on.
Well, no, but I mean, just Starmer seemed so desperate to be included, and now he's finally can confirm that he's on his way out there, so he can leave the country. Hooray for him.
Unfortunately, I thought you were about to say he's on his way out. That's what we're all hoping for.
Well, he is, but he doesn't go.
No. Trump and Putin. This is also from Friday. Have a look at this.
Again, Mr. President, I'd like to thank you very much, and we'll speak to you very soon and probably see you again very soon. Thank you very much, Vladimir.
Next time in Moscow.
Oh, that's an interesting one. I don't know. I'll get a little heat on that one, but I could see it possibly happening.
Next time in Moscow.
They were very buddy-buddy.
Yeah.
I mean, this was when you started to feel, has Trump misstepped? Has he taken a misstep here? Because really, he did roll out the red card. I mean, I'm not a Trump attacker. I'm not a Trump apologist, but I don't generally attack him.
But what else is he going to do? He's trying to bring the guy to the table,
yeah,
right? So
I know.
I mean, a lot of people who don't like Trump are saying he should never have given him the red carpet treatment.
I know.
What's he going to do? Like slap him around the face? And
is this?
I'm going to do you for war crimes?
Is this going to go on forever? We've had this going on for 3.5 years now.
Yeah.
What Trump wants is peace. He wants just to get a deal. And I find it, and I'm the same, I think, he just needs to, the killing needs to stop, the war needs to stop. But he and Putin were sort of unpalatably kind of buddy-buddy there. When he said next time in Moscow, and he used English, and he doesn't normally talk in English at all.
No.
I think a lot of people feel really uncomfortable. I think, they made that, they had the meeting, Zelensky wasn't there. It's like when your parents are discussing you, it was like you're a child.
Yeah.
He's now turning up with his 7 or however many of it is, the coalition of the willing. They're all turning up at the White House. You remember the last time that Zelensky was at the White House, he was basically thrown out. They didn't even give him lunch.
No.
And Trump told him, come back when you're ready for peace.
Exactly right. But there was an interesting tweet put out last night by Harry Cole, and this was a sort of a notice that came out as a defence intelligence update, which is also part of the whole kind of messaging to Putin from the US. Basically, they're saying that based on Russia's average daily casualty rate in 2025 so far, as reported by Ukrainian General Staff, 4.4 more years of war would lead to approximately 1.9 million further Russian casualties casualties killed and wounded. This is in addition to the already 1,060,000 casualties Russia has already likely sustained since launching the full-scale war. So they're kind of sending this message that they've worked out that if you want to carry on with this war, you're going to lose another 2 million soldiers, you know, potentially. Which is quite a clever manoeuvre.
But what is Zelensky meant to do? He has put what his people have gone through over the last 3 years in terms of defending and not giving away their country, what they've gone through. Is he meant to now go to the White House and say, OK, I'll accept that? He can't. I just think he's in an impossible position.
Well, because he's also got a problem with his own government and his own people, because the people don't want to give any land away, but an awful lot of the land has already been captured, right? So the question is do we leave it as it is, right? Ukraine might not want to give up any land, but like all of these deals, you know, in the end, the war only ends once the deal is done.
Yeah, it's a compromise.
And somebody has to do a deal. So if they can shave something off what Putin wants and give something to Zelensky that he currently doesn't have, then maybe they've got a deal.
Maybe.
That's surely
it's going to be fascinating, Mike, because the way they handle Trump is always key in this, isn't it? It's how he feels about his ego and his great deal that he's done with Putin. He just wants to get on with it.
Yeah, I think also if there's a financial incentive for Trump, then that's what he wants to see happening, because it's good for America. I mean, look what he's managed to do already is get the European leaders to pay for American weapons to give to. It's all very well you want to give stuff to Ukraine. All right, then you pay for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, because he doesn't want to pay for it anymore.
Why should he?
And that's absolutely
Why
right.
should the American people pay for Europe's conflict?
Absolutely. I think that is the key to all of it. But it all sort of kicks off this afternoon, and we'll see. We've got plenty of messages coming in. This from Elle in Staffordshire. Proof that Zelensky is weak, having to take a posse of losers with him to negotiate with Trump. I'm sure Trump is worried. Not. They are a bleeding laughingstock. How embarrassing. And Tony says President Trump will have a major bun fight with his naughty European children, stamping their feet and screaming. He should shout them down live on TV in the White House later. See, a lot of people don't even support Starmer going over there and don't even support the Europeans going over there.
It does feel like that. I'm glad that Elle put it like that. It does feel like that, this posse of losers. You know, there could be 6, there could be 17 of them. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
They look really weak. And the fact that they all have to go together, it's like you gang together and you go, right, we're going to go and talk to the headmaster. We're going to tell him what's what.
Yeah. It's like the kids from
Trump's
third form.
had his meeting with Putin. This is the deal.
Right.
You know, get on with it.
Exactly. And he's going to be asking them, no doubt, if they want to have a role in playing for peace, and then they've got to pay for it.
He's done more work for peace in the first, 6 months of his presidency than Obama did, or Biden.
Piers Morgan put out a really good tweet, actually, where he said, isn't it surprising to see all these people, you know, exercised about Donald Trump and what he should have done with Putin, instead of praising him for at least getting him to a table.
Getting him to the table.
Because nobody else has done that.
Getting him to the White House.
Right.
Getting him to a position where he's going to talk about peace.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the trouble is people are so negative about Donald Trump if they don't like him that they miss what he's doing.
Do they want it just to carry on and on and on? Because we know what Putin's capable of.
Of course.
No one likes him. It's not as though we're sort of, you know, making excuses for Putin.
He's not going to stop fighting unless you give him some incentive
look at the weekend.
to do so.
In the Donbass region, there was many more lives lost. So, I mean, this is what happens. Do they want that to carry on? Because we've already had over 3 years of this.
Yeah, I know. Absolutely ridiculous. It's coming up to 6:30. We'll bring you some more news. The BBC have called in the police, believe it or not. Apparently people have been doing cocaine on the Strictly set. That's sort of what they say. Also, we're going to talk about the Tory WhatsApp group, which shows that some Tory MPs still haven't quite got it on the migrant front. 0344 499 1000 631. Welcome back to Morning Glory, 6:32. I'm Mike Graham, with you all the way through, of course, until 10 o'clock. Emma Woolf is here. Lots and lots of other stories to talk about this morning. An amazing one that we spotted over the weekend, actually. This is, again, migrant-related, and it's a judge who let a knife-wielding migrant stay in the UK. It turns out was on the board of a pro-asylum charity. Robert Jenrick has discovered this, and the guy in question is a guy called Christian Quadjovi. Spent a total of 963 days behind bars in United Kingdom prisons since arriving in Britain at the age of 10. Right, a continual rap sheet, including drug dealing and sexual assault. This judge, called Fiona Beach, ruled that Mr. Christian Quadjovi was not a threat to the British public at a hearing last year. But tell us what she used to do.
Yeah, so she was an ex-director, asylum aide, and she represented migrants for free on behalf of the Bail for Immigration Detainees charity.
Just incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, Robert Jenrick, Shadow Justice Secretary, of course, said her apparent conflict of interest undermines confidence in the courts. This is the latest example of an immigration judge with open borders views.
And even the government had to admit the decision was overturned after government lawyers claimed that her judgment was made against the weight of evidence.
Right.
I mean, and she's not the only judge, actually, who is involved in this kind of asylum stuff.
Many of them are. There's clearly an agenda going on, isn't there? There's
and
no
they are
question.
making decisions on who and who is not staying in the country, and who is not deported.
Yes.
This is why I think we have such... By the way, Mike, can we just mark, it's totally separate, well, it's not separate at all. It's in the 13 days since that ridiculous farce that we talked about, the returns agreement. Do you
No, the
wonderful...
one in, one out.
Yeah, one in, one out.
Don't
Do you
make
know
me
how
laugh.
many people have gone? Zero.
None.
Over 2,500 migrants have crossed since the returns agreement came into force.
Of course they have.
So that was a total farce.
So 2,000 plus people in, none out.
2.5, well, more than 2,500
2,500, okay.
But
so the official migrant tracker this morning reads 51,239, but that probably doesn't include maybe Saturday or Sunday, which could be even more. And I said the other day it'll be 52,000 before we know it. Migrant numbers for 2025 now nearly 28,000.
It's crazy.
It is. Well, we keep asking the government, you know, these people that you've detained, how many have you detained and where are they?
Yeah.
Because we know from last week, the TikTok migrant, do you remember him?
Yeah.
He came in on Saturday and by Sunday afternoon he was in a hotel at Heathrow.
He was at a very nice hotel.
So he was not detained, he was not returned, and they're basically now walking away from this idea of returning people in any time other than as soon as possible or whenever it's, you know, feasible.
What is happening? What is happening with people just coming in? Why are they not taking action?
Because they don't know what to do with them. They've got nowhere to put them, right? We don't have any detention centres. You know, that ridiculous, you know, a crazy short little video they did, you know, of people coming into the country and seemingly being detained. They had 3 guys walking out of a minibus into a doorway and carrying, I'll tell you, this is interesting, carrying a blue plastic bag full of their stuff. Do you know what I saw yesterday, right? This is not far from my house. A guy walking down the road with one of those blue plastic bags. Yeah. And I thought, I wonder if he's a guy who's been detained and this is his stuff and he somehow escaped. I don't know. But it was exactly the same colour. Yeah. And you don't normally see that colour blue bag.
No. That is really, really kind of weird and quite creepy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, no, exactly. We saw that video, but again, it was like when they detained someone who was making a part for a boat or a dinghy or whatever. Yeah. What has actually happened? Have those three people, or have those people have they left the country? Yeah. And what about the rest of them that are coming in?
Yeah, I know. Absolutely incredible.
Meanwhile, Starmer leaves. He just leaves the country. He doesn't respond to what's been happening over the weekend, the protests.
No, I mean, I haven't really been checking Starmer's feed for that.
No, there's been a few of those pointless tweets.
There's a few of those pointless tweets about, you know, we will not let anybody come to this country who's not allowed to.
We are supporting British business. Oh, we're not, by the way.
No.
We will not let anyone come in. We're going to smash the gangs, but we won't bother, really.
Yeah.
It's absolutely ludicrous.
I know, crazy. Let's have a look see what we can find of what he's been saying. Keir Starmer, his most recent tweet. I will do what it takes to uphold the law and ensure fairness for the British people. If someone doesn't have the right to be in this country, we won't allow them to stay.
Action?
Really?
Where's the action?
Are you sure about that, Keir? Because it seems like there's an awful lot of them staying, and you don't seem to be doing anything about it.
There must be a way of asking who has left, who has been deported. Could we have this information? You know, I mean, and literally just demanding that information.
That would be nice. Let's get a voice note from Lee on the White House.
Lee from Chelmsford. So, they're all off to see the Supreme Leader today. I do hope they're all travelling on the same plane, otherwise Crazy Ed will have a meltdown. Safety in numbers, they believe. Well, he'll maul every single one of them if any of them step out of line. Just crack on, take what's on the table, and let's concentrate on what's going on in this country.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Lee. I'll tell you what people don't want, and that's for Starmer to commit another few billion quid to whatever the war effort is with Zelensky. We haven't got any money. You know, Rachel Reeves has seen to that.
Oh, yeah, no,
the black hole is now 50 billion.
We never have money, but we have money for foreign aid, and we seem to have endless, bottomless billions for Ukraine, don't we?
Oh, yeah.
And that is not to, you know, disrespect anybody who supports the Ukrainian people and what they've been going through. But frankly, you know, if we're bankrupt, if we have to crack down on every single British person, if we all have to be taxed to the hilt and driven out, you know, no hospital treatment and no money for pensioners and all of that, then frankly we need to stop wasting billions abroad.
We do, absolutely.
And
right.
we know that a lot of that money, a lot of foreign aid money, is absolutely wasted. I mean, no one disputes that.
No one really knows where it goes.
No.
I mean, we've given billions and billions of pounds to Ukraine, and you know it hasn't done any good. So let's talk about the BBC. Police have confirmed they are investigating allegations of drug abuse relating to Strictly. This is after a Sun story of the weekend. It comes after Sun on Sunday revealed the BBC-led inquiry had contacted cops. On August the 12th, said the Metropolitan Police, we received an allegation about drug-related offences. We are assessing the information and further inquiries are taking place to establish whether there is evidence of a criminal offence. As I'm trying to do my best.
And yet the head honcho at the BBC has remained in place. Tim Davie has sailed through repeated scandal after scandal after scandal. It seems astonishing.
Have you seen the match of the day at the weekend? Wayne Rooney was on as a pundit. Everybody was moaning about how terrible he was. And Gary Lineker, who's pictured in the papers today, will be laughing, no doubt, because they lost 500,000 viewers.
They lost 500,000 viewers. They've got these three hopeless presenters. They've got the two girls, haven't they? Gabby Logan and, no, sorry, Kelly Cates.
Yeah.
Is it Gabby Logan?
I think it might be Gabby Logan. I didn't watch it. I haven't watched Match of the Day for so long.
I don't watch it at all.
The last time I watched it was when they all went on strike, when Gary Lineker
that was funny, wasn't it?
That was the last time I watched it.
Yeah, and Ian
I've got better things to do on a Saturday night.
Exactly. Anyway, the numbers are down with their all-star lineup. So Gary Lineker will be laughing.
Another great BBC blunder. Meanwhile, the front page of The Sun has got an interesting story, just because I know there'll be a lot of men that will read this and go, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Chris Robshaw, who's a big burly rugby player, right? He was on Strictly, I guess. I don't know if it was last year. He's been apparently stalked by some mad, crazed woman who's now being hunted by the police, who met him a couple of times and started threatening him with violence. And I mean, a lot of men have this problem, right? And they don't talk about it because they literally think it's too embarrassing. But an awful lot of men end up meeting women who go insane for some reason, and who then threaten them continually.
I have female friends who are, who are quite stalkerish towards men, and I always think, well, cool it there. But I mean, I struggle to really care about what's going on at Strictly.
Yeah, but this is not so much a Strictly story as it is about a men and women story, because he called in the police after she threatened him with violence and spread false allegations about him and his opera singing wife Camilla Kerslake. The woman, who we are not naming, say The Sun, is understood to have left the country and is now on the National Police wanted list.
Goodness me, she does sound like she sounds quite psychopathic.
But she'll be meeting other men over the course of the next few years, and if she's anonymous, if she remains anonymous, there's going to be a lot of guys who are going to be in a lot of trouble.
And this situation would absolutely not be okay if the situation was reversed and it was a man, stalking and threatening a woman like that.
Right.
So no, it does seem extremely alarming.
She started calling companies that Chris and Camilla were working with to tell them these lies that she'd made up. She's intent on ruining their life together. Her other victims are said to have struggled professionally, financially and mentally. I mean, it's really quite disturbing.
This woman needs help.
Well, she needs to be arrested.
She needs to be arrested.
She needs to be charged, I think, is what she needs. Anyway, what about Hold Your Horses? Front page of the Star and page 4 of the Sun. Apparently, horse racing bosses are going on strike in protest at a looming betting tax. We spoke about this earlier.
Yeah.
Meetings at Carlisle, Uttoxeter, Kempton and Lingfield, scheduled for September the 10th, are going to be cancelled. Yeah,
and this is the first time the industry has ever done this, hasn't it? And it's, as we said, it's going to cost them £700,000 in terms of sort of lost earnings.
Yeah.
They're cancelling those 4 big events. And they're big events of the season.
There won't be any betting at betting shops. There won't be any betting on the day actually at the races. And the racing business is struggling as it is. I don't do it a lot, but I was invited to a meeting at Ascot last September, and it was lovely. But there was hardly anybody there.
Really?
Because it was sort of towards the middle end of September. Yeah. And we were fortunate enough to be in a box, and it was great fun. And the people that hosted us probably spent a lot of money, and I'm sure it was worth money. And we all spent money at the betting as well. But you look down at the finish line and there was no crowd. I think that's the thing. Because people have stopped going because they can't afford it.
We see the big days, don't we? We see, Ladies' Day at Royal Ascot and all of that kind of thing. But actually, day in, day out, those meets where it's a lot quieter, much quieter time of the season. It must be a real struggle for the industry.
Yeah,
and I think they feel that hike in taxes is just unfair.
Yeah, absolutely right. Let's get a voice note from Kitty.
So, with your tweet earlier about Keir flying somewhere else yet again, I just wondered if your wonderful team could do some kind of dashboard with a line going across showing us how many air miles each of the cabinet have flown.
Well, you know, Kitty, that's a great idea, but we've already done that. I think we've had the Starmer World Tour. I don't know if it's been updated for this latest trip to Washington, D.C., but here you go. Keir Starmer's World Tour and all the different countries that he's been to. It's been very well put together. Akrotiri and Dekel, is that? I don't know, that was for Azerbaijan, then he went there. Where did he go after that? Belgium. This is just in the first year that he's been in charge, right? Then he went to Brazil. What did he go there for? There's some kind of climate meeting. There were G7, I think. Cyprus, went there. Then he went to Estonia. I'm pretty sure Norway's on the list somewhere. Where's the plane going? Hungary. That was when he got out of the car and nobody wanted to shake his hand. Remember that? That was good. Ireland. Can't remember what he went there for, to be sure. And where else? Let's go. Italy. Yeah, went to see Georgia Maloney. And she sort of scowled, didn't she, when she was sitting next to him. Norway, there you go. I knew he went to Norway at some point. And then really far away, Samoa. Do you remember that time we went to Samoa? Spent 56 hours in the air. Saudi Arabia. This is great. I mean, you know, talk about freebie Keir. United Arab Emirates. And then France, of course, to see his good mate Emmanuel Macron. Germany. Did you see Macron at the weekend, by the way, on that hoverboard? United States. He's been there a few times now, hasn't he? Been there at least 3 or 4 times. And Ukraine, of course, to have a little love-in with his mate. More hugging. This goes on and on. Poland. I mean, it's ridiculous. Thank you very much indeed. So there we are, our Never Hear Keir guide to travelling around the world for free. I wonder how much it's cost us on the taxpayer.
I'd like to know how much it's cost us,
Yeah.
what the point of, 56 hours or something to Samoa, how long was he there for, what was the point of
He
that?
was there, I think, for 24 hours, because it was Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, wasn't
yeah,
it?
it was, yeah.
Remember? And so Charles was there.
Chobham, what do they
King
call
Charles,
it?
Chogham,
Yeah.
King Charles was there,
Yeah.
and he went out there, and that was when I think he gave away the Chagos Islands officially, and also then started agreeing to possible reparations with a load of other Commonwealth countries.
Yeah, and also,
Then
can
he
we give you
flew back.
Chagos back and also pay you for that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Incredible.
I'd like to know, but also the cost, and also the air miles and the carbon footprint of all that.
Yeah.
And Emmanuel Macron, as you say, pictured on his, well, it's a hydrofoil, which is similar to a surfboard, but uses a wing-like
I saw somebody
structure.
on one of those when I was in Dubai.
Yeah.
It does look amazing, because it's, I don't know how they do it, but it's some kind of, electro-powered...
Yeah, there's a sort of wing. It uses a wing-like structure to
Yeah.
lift itself above the surface of the water.
Yeah.
It looks very happy.
It was funny, actually, because I was sitting in this restaurant and there was this beautiful scene. This guy went past looking very cool.
Yeah.
But then when he came back the other way, he was sitting on it, which doesn't look anything like as cool. He wasn't standing, if you stand... Macron actually does look quite cool in
He
the
does
picture.
look quite cool. He looks very happy.
He looks happy.
He just looks like
He
a
looks
normal
quite fit.
40-year-old guy. Yeah.
He looks quite
I was
fit.
impressed. He doesn't look like someone that's married to a lady in her 70s and struggling politically,
Indeed.
emotionally, psychologically.
Yeah.
Who knows?
This one from somebody doesn't give a name. Hurricane Erin, Category 5, with wind speeds up to 165 miles an hour, is barrelling up the North Atlantic Ocean as European leaders and Starmer vow to fly across the Atlantic to be with Zelensky in the US when he appears before Trump later.
That's true.
Now that's interesting.
Yeah, I
can
forgot
fly
about
over.
Erin.
You can fly over hurricanes, though. I mean, that's not a problem.
You can, yeah.
necessarily.
So that Erin, I think, is hitting Florida and places like that. It's going to hit Puerto Rico, or it's going to bother them.
Next couple of days.
Yeah, next few days. But that would be a nice thought.
It would,
Starmer
wouldn't it?
getting a bit of turbulence.
Exactly. Sean in Gloucester says, every bloody day we're embarrassed on the world stage by these idiots in power. Rachel from Customer Complaints can't add up. Keith Starling can't tell the truth. Crazy bacon muncher Millie Pratt can't make any sense. And as for Rainer the hypocrite, do as I say, not as I do. They are achieving something like no one before. They're actually breaking this country and our spirit. I'm not sure about that. I think the country's spirit is actually rising and getting bigger and stronger, because every weekend there's more and more people coming out and realising that they want to fight for what is British, and they want to see the flags flying, and they want to actually get these migrants out of the hotels, and they want to have their voices heard. I've never seen anything like it, like I said.
I agree with you. I think it's a combination of the two, and I'm scared for the winter. I think it's going to be a very, very long, difficult winter for everybody.
Yeah.
I think the economy is just broken the back. I mean, look at what about the pubs? 8 pubs closing a week in this country. These are the basics. These are people's livelihoods.
Yeah, that's in the sun, isn't it?
Yeah, it's in the sun. And it's just, employers can't keep running. The running costs of a cafe or a pub or whatever is really hard.
Yeah.
The staffing costs, the national insurance costs.
Yeah. 209 pubs shut in the first half of the year, which is incredible. That brings the total number of pubs calling a permanent last orders in the past 5 years to 2,283. The employer national insurance rise and increasing staff costs are responsible. So, i.e.,
Yeah.
Rachel Reeves has caused this.
Rachel Reeves has caused this. Their vindictive and kind of economically illiterate policies have caused this. And if there's one thing that Britain is known for still around the world, apart from the royal family, it is pubs. People come here and they go, oh, I'm in a great British pub.
Yeah.
And if pubs are closing, what hope do we have?
Exactly. Donald MacLeod, my good friend from Scotland, was here last week, and he was talking about a new study that's come out from the hospitality industry in Scotland. And they're talking about something like 75% of businesses in hospitality are either about to close or are considering closing because they just can't make any money.
Or they open up as a work-from-home hub or something. I see hotels are now offering their bedrooms as, well, asylum seeker accommodation or working-from-home rooms for people.
How's it working from home if you go to a hotel, though?
Exactly, it's working from hotels, this WFH thing. But I mean, it's just, OK, fine, we have to pivot, we have to be agile, we have to adapt. But, you know, hotels are hotels, pubs are pubs. The whole thing is just a kind of absolute nonsense because the country seems to be... So, yeah, I don't know. I agree with you about the British spirit. When you talk to people, they feel they want to fight for the country and be proud of their country, but we're sort of being overwhelmed by it all. So,
I know.
You know, not
it's
sure
not easy. I mean, talking of bizarre stories about working from home, this is a Labour council in Batterslaw, which I think is up in Yorkshire somewhere. They've got new plans to let staff work from holiday resorts, right? Basically, this is a Red Wall council, is under fire as it approves plans for employees to work from abroad for up to a month, right? They say that short-term walking abroad policy would support employees with family or personal ties abroad, i.e. if you come from somewhere else, you can go and work from that country because you might prefer it.
Once again,
for the local council.
It's absolutely ludicrous. And these are, as you say, this is local council. It's no wonder one can't get the phone answer when you try and ring up to, I don't know, argue about your council tax or something like that, or ask for your bins to be taken out.
There's
because
some
people are
basking on the beach in Ghana.
On the beach,
you know, going, yeah, sorry, I'll get back to you.
And there's nothing wrong. I mean, when I go on holiday, when you go on holiday, of course you're on your phone all the time, you're kind of working all the time, you're in touch all the time. But a local council...
I'm not, actually. I get to the point, I mean, first couple of days maybe I'm on Twitter, but after that I just go, no, not doing it.
Oh, well, I don't go on holiday. But local councils should not be paying employees to be working from abroad.
No.
Oh, but, you know, but if they have family in India or whatever, that's the kind of argument. They need to go and spend time. What, a month, a year?
Oh, yeah, I know. It's ridiculous.
It
It's a
is
complete
ridiculous.
rip-off. Total rip-off. It's coming up to 10 minutes to 7. Nearly finished with the first hour of the show with Emma. But don't worry. We've got plenty of other stories to talk to you about, including a Tory WhatsApp war over migrant policy. This is Morning Glory. We're back after this. Welcome back to Morning Glory, 6:53. I'm Mike Graham with you all the way through until 10 o'clock, of course. Emma Woolf is here with us as well. Barry says, morning, Mike. Never hear Keir off on his travels again. The fool needs to protect Dover, not Donbass. I think that's right. Good morning, Mike, says Ed from Thurrock. Why can't Ukraine borrow money for their own use? Why does the UK have to borrow money and then give it to them? That's a very good point.
Very good point.
Because we have to borrow money all the time. Yeah. You know, we borrowed, I think, 20 billion in June. I haven't seen a figure for July yet, but I'm sure we'll see it soon. And it'll probably be not far off the same kind of amount, because we've been borrowing about 20 billion a month for the last several months. And then we give them 2 or 3 billion. Why are we borrowing
Why are we borrowing that?
Yeah.
Although if you ask Rachel Reeves, she'll probably say it was £20 or something, you know. Oh, no, sorry,
well,
20
see
billion.
What, if you ask Rachel Reeves anything, right, this is what you get in response. Have a look at this.
We also have a challenging economic inheritance with high levels of tax as a share of GDP, historic high levels of government debt, and then also economic growth that really for the last 15 years has been very poor by historical standards because of the weak productivity growth that we've experienced in that period of time.
Dear me. Morning, Mike, and greetings from the Arctic Ocean, says Linda. Currently en route from Iceland to Longyearbyen, the world's most northern town on the island of Svalbard. Looking forward to the sequel to Turnberry, in which Donald shows Keith who is in charge. What a fantastic text that is to have. I've never been to Svalbard.
It does sound very magical. What is this? Is this lady on a cruise?
Yeah, I guess
what does she do?
She must be, yeah. She's en route from Iceland to Longyearbyen.
Well, she's got good internet.
Sounds like it's in the Arctic. Well,
yeah.
This is the thing. You go anywhere in the world, right? You've got better internet than we got here.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why that is.
Absolutely.
I don't know why, but every single time I go abroad, the internet's perfect.
Absolutely.
And it could be in the middle of, you know, one of the most
here in London,
areas.
centre of London, you get these sort of black spots.
I get a black spot as I go down to Sussex about every sort of 10 miles.
Ridiculous.
Where you just can't phone anybody, you can't, you know, interact with anyone. James in West Ham, what a bloody farce. The clown show off to the White House. Notice all the ones going have lost the control and support of their own countries. This is comedy gold. Oh, I hope this gets televised. The statesman of the USA will show amateurs how it's done. Funnily enough, I was talking to some German people at the weekend, friends of the family, and they were saying that in Germany right now, they reckon if they had a vote to leave the European Union, they would win.
Yeah.
Because so many people are so cheesed off with the European Union.
I think the tide is really turning, isn't it, across Europe, actually.
And in France, the same.
Yeah.
You know, they hate Macron. He's even more unpopular in France than Starmer is in Britain.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're going to be proved right.
You know, this coalition of the Willies, as I like to call them. What a waste of time.
Coalition of the Willies. That's absolutely brilliant.
There's a great one, a great
Apart
picture,
from
actually.
Ursula von der Leyen, who's going out there. And Georgia Maloney's going out. I'm a bit disappointed in Georgia Maloney going along with the...
I guess, maybe she goes as a way of kind of counterbalancing them, because if you look at this picture here, Europeans step up for Zelensky. Look at that. It looks like Reservoir Dogs, sort of, you know, the
Coalition of the Willies
sequel. You know, because they're not really that hard. And look at Starmer, he's got his hand on Zelensky again.
Of course, right? Just leave him alone. He's the only one.
Take your hands off him.
Just stop pawing at him.
It's touchy-feely, man.
It's just very, very weird.
Very odd.
I wonder if Starmer will actually be included in the meetings, or whether he's just going along to fly along and... Well, I mean, they had a 2-hour telephone conversation. They had a meeting yesterday afternoon.
I know.
Do they really all need to fly out there?
No, I don't think they do.
It's very much these guys who, as you say, feeling weak in their own countries and want to be desperate to be on the world stage. I was at the White House for this big summit.
Right.
They've all cancelled their August holidays because this is peak time, really.
Yeah.
But Italy and France and places, this is when everyone just goes off.
August in France is closed, isn't it? Yeah. I know, it's very weird. And I wonder whether he'll put pictures out this time of him and Trump. Because remember when he went up to Turnberry and he put no social media out because Trump completely humiliated him. Let's do this one in page 11 of The Sun. The Hunch Woke of Notre Dame. You'll like this. There's a new West End play about the Hunchback of Notre Dame. West End production. Ben Joyce, age 24, has been picked for the lead. But he's been criticised because he's not disabled, right? So now Equity, the actors' union, is basically saying that you should only be able to play Quasimodo if you've got a hunchback and you're blind in one eye and deaf.
For goodness sake. How many people in the UK have a hunchback or have a curvature of the spine, which we should call, and are blind and deaf?
Not very many.
Sorry, one. No, not very many. How many people do you know?
Going, the bells, the bells. I mean, you know.
That's quite good,
Mike.
Not
bad. I could do it.
Yeah.
You know.
Look, The Hunchback of Notre Dame has always been played by an actor with padding.
Lorne Chaney played it. I seem to remember the very old movie, the first one that was done. There is a real... Equity says this. There's a real and significant issue of casting a non-physically disabled performer in the role of a physically disabled character. Do you mean to tell me that this is how people speak English now? A non-physically disabled performer, meaning...
Non-physically an able-bodied person?
Yeah.
Or... Yeah.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous.
Mike,
how many people do you know with a hunchback?
None.
OK, I know one. My godmother, for years, who has recently died, she was 90 when she died.
Okay.
She had curvature of the spine.
But that's something that old ladies get, isn't it?
No. This was scoliosis, proper.
Oh, was it?
From her youth. And it was astonishing. She was open about it, but it was astonishing to see.
Yeah.
She literally got to the point, when she died, she was at the point where her head was right down and she would try and put her neck up. The curvature was so severe that it crushed all her internal organs.
Oh, wow.
But a real hunchback is quite something to see.
Yeah.
I don't think there are many actors out there with a hunchback like the Hunchback of Notre Dame.
But of course, perversely, when you talk about making dwarfs play dwarfs, you know, do you remember they redid Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs without dwarfs? Yeah. So they actually started casting people who weren't dwarfs.
Which looked really bizarre
and all the dwarfs were going, hang on, you put us out of work. Well, that's the only job we can get. Anyway, never mind. Listen, we've got lots more to do. Coming up to 7 o'clock, we'll be bringing you more, of course, later in the day. Emma Woolf has very kindly agreed to stay on to have a look at a few other stories that we haven't yet covered yet, because we haven't yet got to all of them. But the big news, of course, on most of the front pages this morning has to do with what's happening in Washington later on today from about 5 o'clock. Europe tells Trump, don't give in to Putin, is what it says on the front page of the Daily Telegraph. There's a whole panoply of European leaders heading over to Washington, D.C. To hang out with Donald Donald Trump and Volodymyr Zelensky, as if it matters what they have to say. D-Day at the White House, says the Daily Mail front page. Starmer, Zelensky and EU leaders to meet Trump today, but will he listen to a single word they say? I think no, probably, is the answer to that. Europe takes a stand, with a horrible picture on the front page of Keir Starmer and Volodymyr Zelensky in an embrace from last Friday. The message to Volodymyr Zelensky from Keir Starmer is, we've got your back. And really, it's only Monday. Don't get too excited. I don't know what to say about any of this, because quite frankly it is completely and utterly pointless, I think, for Keir Starmer to go out of the country when this country needs an awful lot of guidance, an awful lot of legislation, needs an awful lot of sorting out. Over the weekend there was yet more demonstrations and protests outside multiple hotels which are housing migrants. We've got all sorts of pieces of footage to show you about that. Down in Canary Wharf, the police were out in force. Women were turning up just wearing pink. It's a Pink Lady protest. They were doing that in Norwich. They were doing it in Epping, outside the Bell Hotel. They were doing it where Robert Jenrick turned up and Kemi Badenoch turned up as well. The police, of course, being over-manned and really, over-enthusiastic about trying to stop these people from demonstrating outside these hotels, where, frankly, there are things going on which we can only worry about. Here's some pictures of police running. Somebody pointed out to me at the weekend, the Britannia Hotel in Canary Wharf is better protected than the UK borders. And that is absolutely and utterly true. Daily Express has got an interesting one. Britain's 10 million junk food addicts. Apparently there are 10 million people in this country addicted to junk food. And this is research that has been revealed saying that the World Health Organization should include food addiction as a form of substance abuse. I'm not sure we should go that far. Front page of The Sun has got a Strictly story. Apparently former England rugby player Chris Robshaw has called in the police after a terrifying campaign of harassment by a female stalker. He appeared on Strictly and now she's after him for some reason. Lots more to tell you about. Shoplifters being spared prison in record numbers. We'll talk about Normal People author as well, Sally Rooney. She's going to fund Palestine Action. What an idiot. This is Morning Glory. Let's get it on. Let's get a voice note from Glenn.
Morning, Mike. Glenn from Suffolk here. What do these idiot Labour councillors not understand? These immigrants don't want to integrate with us. We don't want to integrate with them. Who wants to be forced to integrate with anyone? It's like putting diesel in a petrol car. It just won't work. Sooner or later, it will break down. And that's what's going to happen to this country.
And I think that's right. I mean, this is a story that we've got. Emma, thank you very much indeed for joining us. This is a story from Havant Council, where the Sun has intervened into. We've got a hold of some emails being sent between Labour councillors who are basically saying, what we have to do in order to fight racism is to bring the migrants closer to the community. So put them where the shops are, put them where the schools are, put them where the communities are, and then they'll all integrate with each other.
Bring them into the town centres, give them plush sort of town centre accommodation, where other people who are working hard and paying their taxes are living further out and have to travel to get to school, to get to the hospitals, to get to wherever. So we're going to have town centres, sort of hotbeds of shoplifting and crime and potentially harassment and things like that, all of which people are reporting already. And such an interesting point you make. What if we saw these kind of police presence? What if we saw that kind of show of force down at the borders, which is what everybody is talking about, people coming into this country illegally and unchecked? What if we saw that kind of, show of force down there? Right. We don't. We see it being policed against British people, against ladies in pink at these local community protests. Yeah, and what we see as well down on the border, certainly at Dover and where these people are being brought in, they're being brought in and they're being sort of treated with kid gloves and they're being taken off into a room where they're given a cup of tea and no doubt something to eat, and then they're putting on a bus. They go to Manston, where they get processed, and then they go to a hotel. And the whole process only takes about 24 hours. They go to a hotel, and then we know, and it may not all be true, but we see the list of things that legal and illegal migrants are given when they arrive in this country. And it's simply, people are very, very angry about this. They really are. And the bottom line is that in the end, Robert Jenrick says it shows, and he, as I say, was at the protest in Epping Forest yesterday, he says it shows that the nation has had enough. And the government has to acknowledge it. And still, despite this been going on now for pretty much the last month, Keir Starmer has not uttered a word about it. There
Not
has
one.
been no proper response at all. Apart from the excessive policing on their own people, there's been no government response to what is going on around the country and what people are actually saying.
Exactly.
And Robert Jenrick's absolutely right. He's talking about the kind of the tide is turning and the feeling that, you know, the British people have had enough.
Right.
And I think he's absolutely right. And you were talking about the kind of British spirit and the fact that we may be kind of broken, but we're stronger in a way.
Well, we are, because in a way people are finally waking up to the fact that, you know, enough is enough. We've been watching this go on, and we've been reporting on it for a long time. Nobody else has, right? The other story that I think we should mention here is Operation Raise the Colours. This is a little patriotism campaign around the country where people are putting flags up and just saying, we want to fly a Union Jack, or we want to fly across the St George, you know, because it started in Birmingham, where Birmingham Council ordered the removal of hundreds of Union and St George's flags flying from street lampposts in the city, saying that they were a health and safety risk. And you go, really?
It's funny how some flags are a health and safety risk.
Well, I'll tell you what's
aren't.
a health and safety risk is when you haven't collected the rubbish for about 6 months.
Get on with your job.
And you've got rats the size of cats running around, and cats the size of donkeys soon running around. You know, they claim the flags put the lives of pedestrians and motorists at risks, despite being 25 feet off the ground.
No, for goodness sake.
Right.
Since when did flying your British flag as a British person, you know...
Then the same thing happened in Tower Hamlets in East London. We talked about this in the last hour. They said they would take down St George's flags as soon as possible after they were put up in recent days. This is the same borough council where in the beginning of the whole Israeli problem after October the 7th and that ghastly attack by Hamas. There were street parties, there were blockages of the road. They occupied the tunnel that goes underneath Canary Wharf, the Limehouse Link tunnel, for hours and hours on end, and these were Palestinian supporters waving Palestinian flags.
Well, there are Palestinian flags all over Tower Hamlets. There are. Which are not being removed.
Hanging out of windows, hanging out of
car doors,
balconies,
windows,
council houses, because they're all in council houses, of course. Don't worry about that. So, I mean, these are all things which matter to everyone who cares about this country. Keir Starmer cares so much about that he hasn't said anything, and instead he's gone off to America to play, you know, I'm an international statesman games.
It's absolutely ludicrous, and they're simply not responding. And the more you just ignore people, you know, the more it'll continue. And
absolutely.
He can keep putting out these ludicrous tweets about, you know, we are taking action, we are securing our borders, and they're not. And people aren't idiots.
People are not
because
stupid.
they're actually living their lives, and they see what's going on in their communities.
Exactly. Couple of stories as well about the migrant hotel protests and the border farce. Illegal migrants brought to the UK, as one in the Sun, in dangerous £350 dinghies, which are sold online by backstreet factories in China. The belief is they come in via sort of Turkey and then into places like Romania, into Eastern Europe, and then they find their way to the Channel crossing. And it surely can't be that difficult to stop it.
Well, as we were saying, they are for sale. They're being sold at places like Alibaba. They're being sold online openly. You or I could probably go and buy one. I think they're £350. They can carry it. What is it? Up to 100 people?
Yeah.
I don't know how many people they can carry.
I mean, they're certainly getting 80 and more on.
But these are big structures.
They're huge.
They're being, you know, this isn't just kind of pumping up a small tyre or something.
No.
They're big, and they're heavy.
And also they're less and less risky as time goes on.
Exactly.
You know, now occasionally there is a tragedy and some people drown because they get overloaded. But it happens very, very little, considering how many people actually make it across. As you've said to me, 2,500 people have come into this country that way on small boats ever since Keir Starmer announced the returns policy.
But he made such a big deal about...
nobody.
He made such a big deal about the returns agreement.
Yeah.
We have secured a one-in, one-out, which we didn't want. But anyway, the returns agreement with France. Who has been returned?
Yeah.
How many have been returned? Where have they gone?
None.
Let's see the proof.
Yeah.
Who's been returned?
Well, I think Shabana Mahmood was asked the question a couple of days ago, can you please show us some video of people being returned? Because at the end of the day, that's all we need to see.
Yeah.
And she couldn't do it. She said, oh, I'm not sure. I don't know.
Or even the paperwork. Just show us the official paperwork.
They're very good. They showed us that ridiculous video in slow motion of people.
Yeah, but I don't
walking.
want video. I don't want the footage of the guy holding his blue plastic bag walking somewhere.
Right.
I'm saying there must be official paperwork saying you've left, you've gone, you're on a docket, you're on a flight.
No,
well,
because they haven't sent them
anywhere. Because they haven't sent anyone. That's what I'm saying.
But I'll take a video of somebody being put on a flight.
But they're not going anywhere.
No, of course, because there aren't.
It's all made up. It's probably Starmer's friends.
Let's go back to the protests, and here's Susan Hall, the former leader of the Conservative Assembly members down in City Hall.
women all over the country are not feeling safe, and we need to let the government know there's a great swell of feeling out there where people do not want to be living next to people who we don't know who they are. They don't want to be walking the streets and having to have their husbands with them because they feel too frightened to walk along. And it's about time that people like me, this is my first demonstration ever, it's about time people like me get out on the streets and say to the government, do something about this, because it's now very, very serious.
It is now very, very serious, and when somebody as serious as Susan Hall says it, you'd think, I mean, Sadiq Khan has spent an entire career ignoring her, so now Keir Starmer's ignoring her.
And being extremely rude
and really rude, yeah.
Really, really
and now
offensive.
Keir Starmer's ignoring her.
He is. But when you look at someone like Susan Hall, an intelligent, kind, compassionate person, and all these women, ladies in pink, grandmothers, mothers, daughters. These are not, you can't brand these people far-right racists. It's just ridiculous. They're talking about their lives and their communities and how they're feeling when people are transplanted into their communities, into local hotels, and are out and about in their businesses, in their, you know...
And also, other footage that we've seen at the weekend shows what's going on inside the hotels, where people like citizen journalists will sneak in, and what you'll see is all of this, sort of new furniture coming in, you know, new beds being brought in, new bedding. You know, they are literally being treated like kings, these people. They come into a new hotel, £400 a night in the Britannia, in Canary Wharf, and they're being given very comfortable beds, very comfortable rooms, very comfortable situations, and then they're given food, they're given a car that they can spend money on. You know, and it's great, isn't it?
And they're telling people back home, I'm afraid they're telling people back home, look, this is what we get. Look at this, you know, you take photos, like when you go on holiday, you take photos, send them to your friends. They're WhatsApping their friends and saying, look at this. It is, you know, Britain is now becoming a very, very welcoming place to enter illegally, to come and live here.
I know. Let's talk about two-tier Keir in another way, because The Sun have got a great piece today by Jack Elsom, who we'll talk to later on, his Sun political editor. He said the name two-tier has actually stuck to Keir Starmer, unfortunately for him, because that's what everybody can see and what everybody knows. Big row over the weekend. Again, it happened after we finished our show on Friday. Ricky Jones, the Labour councillor, you might remember him saying this not that long ago, last year.
We've got children and women using those trains, destroying the summer holidays. They are disgusting, nasty factors, and we need to cut all their throats and get rid of them all.
Yes, he was up in court, of course, on Friday, and he was acquitted by the court, having been accused of all manner of bad things, but he walked free from court. He's still suspended. He was suspended by the Labour Party. He's a Labour councillor in London. That was him speaking at a sort of a far-left rally against the far-right audience.
Cut their throats.
We need to cut their throats, all of them. They're nasty fascists. Those were his words, right? Now, Lucy Connolly, on the other hand, is still in prison, jailed for 31 months for a tweet in which she said, you can burn the bloody hotel down for all I care, right?
Yeah.
And somehow...
And then regretted it and deleted it and apologised, and she's in prison.
Yeah. And the problem is, right, people all weekend, particularly these kind of, you know, legal types, were saying anyone who says this is two-tier justice is an idiot. They don't understand that she didn't have a jury trial because she pleaded guilty. He did have a jury trial, and so it's nothing to do with the judge. Well, up to a point, Lord Copper, is what I would say.
Exactly.
Because the reason that Lucy Connolly pleaded guilty was that she was told, if you plead guilty, you will be out much quicker than if you plead not guilty, which was coercion, in my view. And I think it was bad advice, and it was deliberately given advice because whoever was her brief was probably told to do it by the CPS. Right? And instead, she's not been out. She has not been. She was never granted bail. You know, Ricky Jones was granted bail after being held for a little while. He was held for a short time after the offence, but he was granted bail until his trial. So he's been walking around free, and now he's still walking around free.
It's kind of irrelevant, the obsession with, oh, but he was found, you know, it was not guilty, he was acquitted by a jury. Yes, we understand all that. The fact is, look at the severity of her sentence. Look at the severity of her sentence. That isn't explained by any of that. And look at the fact that she is still in prison. I mean, that is completely
and she has never been allowed home.
Disproportionate.
And she has never been allowed home to see her children or her husband, who are severely distraught by her imprisonment. And that even is granted to some much more serious criminals who are allowed, if you call it a right to a family life, they're allowed to go home and see their families. She hasn't been allowed to do that.
I can't even imagine what that does to a child, actually, of you know, fairly young children being deprived of their mother for over a year.
Yeah.
It's absolutely ludicrous. And look at what what Ricky Jones was saying.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't agree with throwing, you know, with throwing anyone in prison for this kind of stuff.
They are disgusting fascists, and we need to cut all their throats and get rid of them all.
Well, there you go.
And then he does that.
Exactly.
Right?
And if that's not inciting violence, if that's not two-tier policing or two-tier judiciary, then I don't know what is.
And he also, I mean, the charge that he faced was encouraging or assisting in the commission of an offence. I mean, it's hardly, you know, it's not even inciting violence. And he was basically acquitted by a jury.
Yeah.
But the point is that when people say the cases are two very different things, yes, of course they are, because she pleaded guilty. But you have to look at the reason why she pleaded guilty and how she's been treated really ever since.
And look at both what both people said and how they responded afterwards and how they were treated.
And also, most prisoners now in this country, they serve about 40% of the time that they're sentenced to, which by rights should mean that she would have been out long before 31 months, because 31 months was the sentence.
Well, we know that she was made an example of, wasn't she? She was made. She's being used to frighten everybody else, to terrify us all.
Yeah. And it's all part of this online safety act.
And for some people it has worked, exactly.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. It's appalling. He's been a Dartford local councillor in Kent since 2019, but he's now basically an independent councillor, but he's still a councillor.
He's still a councillor.
Because he's been found innocent, right? He's also worked as an organiser for the Transport Salaried Staffs Association Union, the TSSA, you know, so... I mean, he's a ghastly individual. In my view, he shouldn't be allowed to be a councillor because he's brought surely his job into disrepute, even if he is criminally not guilty.
Exactly.
And he's still guilty of, I would say, absolute misuse of his office.
Absolutely, and I think his words there are far more threatening than anything that Lucy Connolly tweeted or retweeted or commented.
Totally. Absolutely right. Adrian from Lincolnshire says, Mike, I'm ex-UK military. I know several colleagues who are military contractors in Ukraine on £2,000 paid per day by UK taxpayers. That's nice, isn't it?
Complete madness.
And Maggie says, haven't all these leaders heading to Washington to hold Zelensky's hand heard of Skype? So much for saying that saving the polar bears, or is it just that it's down to everyone else? One rule for them and one rule for the rest of us. Great show, Maggie says. Yeah, I know.
But Maggie, they've already had they had their big Skype Zoom discussion yesterday, whatever it was. They want the photo op. They want to stand with Zelensky. They want to hold his hand and get their photo to show their own countries.
Yeah.
They want to be there, don't
doesn't
they?
Just want to hold his hand.
It used to be called Star something.
Yeah, they did. Absolutely.
You know, that kind of
It's like, you know, my mate Volodymyr Zelensky, you know, I can't let him go anywhere without me. It's just weird, isn't it?